Okay, this is Unit 7, Targets 1 and 2, number 20 from the homework assignment. We're going to find the coordinates of G, which is an endpoint. We don't know what those are yet, but we're given that M is a midpoint. So -2, -5 is my midpoint, or sorry, -2, +5 is my midpoint. All right, so H is at -3, 7. -3, 7. And so if I use the graph as a strategy first, I can see that H is up to and 1 to the left from M. So if M is the midpoint, then G should be 1 to the right of M and down 2. There should be that same relationship from H to M as there is from M to G. So it looks like my other endpoint that I'm going to want is the point -1, 3. I also want to do the problem without using a graph because graph is not always available, or if I have decimals, a graph strategy is not going to work at all with decimals. So the idea to make this work is we're still going to use the midpoint formula where we take the average of our x's and we divide by 2. So -3 plus x divides by 2. That's going to give you the x coordinate of your midpoint. So I add the two x's, I divide by 2, and if I knew what the other x was, I'd have my answer. I'd have my midpoint. Well, this time instead, we know what the midpoint's supposed to be. We know it's supposed to be at -2. So we're going to say that this equals -2 because that's the coordinate it's supposed to be. What this does is it gives us an equation to solve with algebra skills. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. If I multiply by 2 and I divide by 2, those operations undo each other. So on the left side of the equation, I have -3 plus x. On the right side of the equation, I have -2 times 2, which is -4. To solve that all the way, I add 3 to both sides, and I get x equals -1. If I look at my graph for G, I do have a -1 there, so that works out well. I can do the same thing with the y values to find the coordinate for the y. So I'm going to take the y values, which are 7 and y, and add those two together and divide by 2. That's the same thing I would do if I was trying to find the coordinate for the midpoint. But I know the coordinate for the midpoint is 5. That's the y coordinate. So I'm going to set this equal to 5. So I need something, I need y to be something so that 7 plus y gives me a number that when I divide by 2, I get 5. You can kind of think through it that way. Or you can go back to solving by multiplying by 2. If I multiply by 2 on the left, I have 7 plus y, because I have 7 plus y multiplied by 2 and divided by 2, which just gives me 7 plus y. On the right, I have 5 times 2 is 10. If I subtract 7, I get y equals 3. And so 3 would be the other coordinate for my point G at -1, 3, which is what we see on the graph.